Hi there, my name is Ben Tepfer. I'm a Senior Technical Evangelist here at Adobe. My focus is working with developers like yourselves and your organizations on digital transformation across Adobe and Microsoft technologies. Now, if you're not already familiar with kind of what we're doing from an Adobe perspective, specifically around digital experience, or as we think of it, and digital marketing as a broader spectrum, what we do is we create technologies that empower businesses to transform customer experiences. And we look at the entire life cycle of the customer journey, all the way from when somebody discovers a brand to how they connect with them, whether it's in person, on mobile devices. And so we do that through a variety of technologies that we call our Adobe Experience Cloud. Now, if you're not familiar with the Experience Cloud, let me give you a quick rundown of it. It's, again, all about personalizing experiences on every single digital online, but also offline touchpoint as well. But where I'm really going to focus today is a product that we have built underneath all of this, specifically for the enterprise, for the developer like yourself to get their hands on the technology. Because the power of all of this working together is that we can deliver these really great experiences. And so that's really what the Adobe Experience Platform is. And the Adobe Experience Platform, first and foremost, is built on Microsoft Azure. And that's really key because we made the choice to build on Azure because of the flexibility, because of the security, and because of all the great reasons that you're already developing on the technology. And so Experience Platform serves as a single place to bring those different pieces of data together, specifically for the marketing experience-led business. And it's all of your data sources, right? It's your CRM from Microsoft Dynamics, it's your blob storage in Azure, it's streaming events like Event Hubs, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a few minutes. It's financial, operational, it's all this data, both in batch and real time, coming together, and all this data synchronizes around a single profile. So at any point in time, as a developer, as a marketer, I can pull up a single profile of an individual. Profile is that one go-to spot where I've got all the information, CRM data, behavioral timestamp data, so time event data, purchase history, all of that different data is brought together in a real-time profile. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of ways that you can begin to bring data in and bring data out of Experience Platform. We have a variety of data connectors, and as I mentioned, they're all API first. So I'm going to show you the UI in a couple minutes here, but what you'll end up seeing is that every process you can do from the UI, you can do through API. And then on the other end of it, you can see that we've got all these APIs for accessing that data, right? We want to leverage the Experience Platform running on Azure, but we want to make sure that that data is available to the rest of the enterprise as well. So everything from point lookup, data access APIs, and IO events, which we'll talk about, those webhooks that helps you connect into your existing applications. So again, built for extensibility, built for the API. And to give you an idea of what Microsoft-specific technologies this works with, on the left-hand side you see these Microsoft sources, right? These are out-of-the-box data connectors that let you bring Microsoft data into Experience Platform. And again, in Experience Platform, you're going to have data from across the enterprise. So you may have behavioral data, you may have contact center, you may have mobile data in there, and you bring in that Microsoft data alongside it. So here are just a few examples of what we're doing here. So what does this mean for you, right? As the developer, we want to make sure that everything about our products and our technology across Adobe is built for you. And we've got a few different ways that we build out for this. But the ability to build out your own integrations with our tools is really key. We want to help you engage and build upon our technology. For a developer, there's a bunch of key features here. We'll talk about IO runtime, which is our serverless functions, in a few minutes, but it's also the command line, which we'll dig into in a few moments. It's around the seamless kind of experience. So if your team members are already using Adobe applications like Experience Platform or Analytics or Campaign, right, you are used to a certain design standard. We open source that design standard so you can build your own applications that look and feel just like our technology. Now, speaking of this, one of the key fundamental pieces that we need to talk about, again, is IO runtime. And this is the serverless platform that really lets you begin to integrate, extend, and customize all of the Adobe technology with specific functions and respond to events. And that leads us to the third category that I'm going to touch on today, and it's called Project Firefly. Just a couple of key pieces that I want to highlight for you about what Firefly is. Again, it's everything that you need. So it's the design framework. It's actually even the content hosting if you need that as well. It's the command line of the SDKs. It comes with runtime, and it's leveraging cloud services. So it's everything that you need to begin to build out an application with our technology. Okay, so demo session, I want to dive right into the product. There's three key things I want to show you, all right? First of all is the Experience Platform that I've been talking about. I'll show you the UI for that, how we connect to things like Dynamics. Then we're going to look at the API access through Postman. And finally, we'll dive into the command line when we look at Project Firefly. So let's switch over to Experience Platform. This is really the home page and the centerpiece for a marketer or developer to start using the UI of the product. There's a ton of functionality here, some of which we're going to go into today. One piece that I'm not going to spend a ton of time on that I do want to highlight for you is the data science capability. If you or individuals in your organization are using Jupyter Labs and Jupyter Notebooks, this is exactly the notebook view, and it's sitting on top of all the data within the Experience Platform already. So what is that data? So let's go over here to our data sources. Now this is where I can bring in out-of-the-box data connectors into Platform, and as you can see there's a bunch of Microsoft ones already. So blob storage, data lake gen 2, file storage. What I want to highlight for you here is if we scroll a little bit further down, we've got is CRM. So Microsoft Dynamics is one of those accounts that's already accessible for you to bring in data into Platform in automatically. And you can see there's different flows here. And what is a flow? Well, a flow allows me to actually map that data within Dynamics into the data within Platform. And so as you can imagine, I've got a lot of different ways of identifying people within Platform because I have all these different data sets. And now I'm going to be synchronizing them all together. Why it's really important is that I can select any field within Dynamics. And what I can do is map it directly into an existing data set here. So let's go ahead and select one of my demo data sets. And by the way, data lands in Platform in one of two ways. Either as related to a profile, so like think of that as CRM, or as an event. Think of that as behavioral data. And what happens now that's really cool is that I can actually begin to map the CRM CDM data from Dynamics into that Experience data model within Experience Platform here. And what you can see here is it's automatically pulling up those fields. Looks like we've got a little bit of work to do on the Adobe. But these are the fields from Dynamics, and you can see that I can easily go into the data model within Experience Platform and assign where these fields would go here. Now, Dynamics data is going to be batch level data, so we synchronize it, let's say, every 15 minutes, right? It doesn't need to be happening in real time. And I'm going to look at the existing accounts that I already have, and you can see that I've already begun to set this configuration up. And as you can imagine, if you're a user of Event Hub already, you can bring in the different event hubs that are already linked within Azure. So it's super easy to actually go ahead and create a new connection. I've already done that for our purposes today. We can begin to bring in that data. Now, what happens to that data? Well, as I mentioned, it's going to land within what we call a data set. So if I go to our data sets here, I'm going to specifically pull up our Event Hub data set. And what you're going to see here is that we're able to in real time bring in all of that data, and it's in real time actually mapping the data from that Event Hub moment into Experience Data Model, XDM. I can go ahead and preview what that first line of data may look like here. It's my own account, of course, but you can see this is the data that's actually coming from the Azure Event Hub. So that's the first piece that I want to touch on. Now, again, I mentioned that all the data in Platform centralizes around a profile or an individual. So what I have here is one of such profiles. You can see there's a bunch of IDs that identify this individual, everything from phone number, email address, customer ID, loyalty ID, CRM ID. We also have this thing called an Experience Cloud ID. Now this is a unique Adobe identifier that can help tie together your different data sets. A little more about the profile here. You've got all the attributes that are part of it, but you've also got all of the events as well. This is what I was talking about when I mentioned events coming into Experience Platform in real time. In this case, we can see the channel that somebody interacted on, what they did, and the IDs associated with it. So this is a really powerful way to synchronize all of that data together. And I'm going to show you now how you can access this exact profile directly from within the APIs. Okay, so I'm over here in Postman, and I've already opened up a few different collections for Adobe I/O and for those API functionalities here. I want to show a couple of them to you. The first one is the ability to grab a profile. So the profile that I just showed you, as I mentioned, is tied to what we call an Experience Cloud ID. Now I've already configured the header for this API call here, but what you can see here is that I'm defining the unique ID, or the identity of that profile. And all of those IDs that I mentioned are unique ways to pull on a profile. You can see here that I'm calling on the schema, the profile schema, and then of course here is the unique ID that ties me back to that individual. So I'll add in the one that we just took a look at, we'll send this, and what you can see here, and I'll scroll through this quickly, but you see all of the same IDs tied into this profile here. So this is a quick way as a developer that you can call upon that profile. You can use attributes of it within your own API calls, you can access it, and so forth. And that's one really interesting way that we can leverage some of the APIs from within Platform. And And as I said, everything's API first. You could go ahead and post a segment job, you could get a segment job, you could set up a connector, you could export a data set. And again, data types are open to be whether it's a CSV, JSON, or a Parquet file. You can leverage all of those within Experience Platform here. The last piece I want to touch on is that developer experience from the command line in building out custom applications. Now, if you remember, I talked about Firefly, that extensibility on top of platform, the ability to build your own custom applications. And you can see here that I've already installed the AIO plugin. Now, when I run this, what you're going to see is the beautiful, of course, Adobe A and all the information that goes along with it. Let's go ahead and create a new application. Okay, and we are ready to start building and playing around. So the next thing we want to do is build out a Firefly specific application. So we're going to do AIO, app, init, and we're going to call this Ignite. So what we see here is the ability for me to look at all the different organizations that I'm part of. This is ACP Evangelists. Now it's going to get all of the projects that I've already started to build out. I'll show you that in a moment here. Now there's one in particular that I really want to look at here. It's a dashboard, right? And I want to build a custom application with Firefly that lets my marketing team see how all of our emails are performing, but not even need to go into the email tool itself to be able to actually send out special personalized messages. So we're going to build an interactive dashboard for them. We'll put it in our production environment. And what we're going to see here in the config file are all the different APIs associated with this. So you're going to see here that we're going to pull in Adobe Campaign APIs and platform level APIs. We're going to deploy all the actions. Here are the things that we've talked about, like runtime actions and IO events. I'm going to add all my APIs. We're going to call these generic. And now what we're doing is we're actually creating an application that I can begin to run right away. Now, for our demo purposes today, we're not going to complete this entire process here. But what I want to show you is what the end result is going to look like for you. So when you actually end up running this process, what you get on the back end are all the files that you see over here. In our manifest file, you can see the key information about this application. So for instance, you can see the tenant name, that's what I showed you a moment ago, the service key, which obviously I'm not going to show you. But you can see all of the kind of variables that may be related to this specific application are accessible to you here. These all come to me from the IO console and let me build that Firefly application. But what I do want to touch on here is the actions category. So we give you out-of-the-box actions that you can start to play around with, getting profile information. So things like your API key, your authorization, you can pull these in here with these out-of-the-box kind of getting started templates. And then you also have the ability to test these applications as well. Now, the last piece here is this web folder. And as I mentioned, one of the advantages to building a Firefly app with our APIs is that you actually truly can begin to be able to build out web interfaces as well. So if you look in here, I've already integrated with this Spectrum, React Spectrum. What we're seeing here is the ability to build out that web interface for that application itself. So now I'm able to build out an app that I can then use across my organization. So let's actually take a look at that. Okay, so I've already have all the tools I need here, so what I'm going to go ahead and run this application. Now, because I'm launching this application in the exact same instance of Experience Platform and Experience Cloud that I built it in, you can see here that I now have an interactive dashboard where I can go ahead and send any email communications out here. So again, this is a really easy application to build out, and it's again built for the marketer to be able to go in and quickly see all the emails. We could have metrics in here and actually add actionability into this experience as well. So thank you so much for your time today. Hopefully this has been a quick and helpful example about how you can start to develop with Adobe and our Experience Platform. There's a ton of integrations as you can see with Microsoft, and we're super excited to see what you continue to build. Please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, LinkedIn, email. Happy to collaborate and build something amazing with you guys. Have a great day.